President Trump traveled to Medora, North Dakota on Wednesday to mark the opening of the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library, a moment that blended history, spectacle, and no small amount of political heat. Trump arrived aboard the new Air Force One and was greeted by the sweeping Badlands landscape that shaped the 26th president's character more than a century ago. The library was a passion project of Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, who championed it during his time as North Dakota's governor. Burgum was on hand to personally guide Trump through the exhibits, and Trump, never one to undersell himself, quipped, "I know more about that museum than the people that built it." For much of his speech, Trump offered a long, freewheeling retelling of Roosevelt's life story. He called Roosevelt a great he-man, marveled at his charge up San Juan Hill during the 1898 Battle of San Juan Hill, and touched on Roosevelt's explorations of the Amazon jungle. Deep in the Amazon jungles, he would get extremely sick, Trump said. Maybe he shouldn't have been there. He also mentioned Roosevelt sailing the Atlantic and scaling the Matterhorn, summing it all up with, "He had a freaking wild life, right?" Trump drew personal parallels throughout, weaving in references to the Panama Canal, a swipe at Spain as a NATO ally prompted by Roosevelt's Spanish-American War heroics, and a comment that Cuba is coming our way after many decades. There was also a tender moment. Medora holds a deeply personal place in Roosevelt lore. It was here that Roosevelt retreated after the devastating loss of both his wife and his mother, who died hours apart on Valentine's Day, 1884. Roosevelt marked that day on his calendar with a simple X. Trump recounted the tragedy with an almost mournful sincerity. Wife was very young. Mother was older, but she was getting by. Not everyone embraced the occasion warmly. Many conservationists have criticized Trump and Burgum as mismatched stewards of Roosevelt's environmental legacy. At the very opening of the library honoring America's conservationist-in-chief, Trump called those opposed to oil drilling environmental lunatics, and went on to attack Democrats and revisit his Supreme Court losses, turning what could have been a unifying anniversary celebration into a partisan rally. The crowd, packed with Trump supporters, did not seem to mind. The library sits at the foot of Theodore Roosevelt National Park in the rugged North Dakota Badlands, the same dramatic landscape where a grieving young Roosevelt once rebuilt himself into a national figure. Whether Wednesday's ceremony honored that legacy or complicated it may depend on who you ask. I'm your host, and that's your briefing for today.